Welcome to Parenting Matters Now, a source of parenting advice a few minutes at a time. Are children logical creatures? Hi, this is Dr. Rogerson with the Parenting Matters Now. It depends. It depends on their age. In fact, children must have a lot of maturity neurologically in order to perform logical deductions. Let me give you an example. My niece, who has just recently begun fostering some small children, it was in our home, and there's a 2.5 or 3-year-old that she has, and he was wanting to stop eating his main meal because he was full or he didn't want any more, and that she knew he wanted to have candy later. And so she said to him, well, if you can't eat this, that means you're full and you won't have room in your stomach for the candy. So if you want candy, you need to eat this. Well, so that's logic. You use logic with this 3-year-old that says, if I stop eating, that means I'm full. And if I'm full, then that means I can't have candy in a few minutes. And that's a logical connection. And children under the age of about 8 have very little logic. Certainly under the age of 4. They can make associations, but to make the logical connection of those concepts is beyond their neurologic capacity. And so they are very good with rules. If you do not finish your supper, you cannot have dessert. They can connect those two things. They don't have to deduct the reason why, or that there is a connection of not eating this and what that might mean about another decision later on. So, but they can associate a rule with, a desire. And so that's why in my book, Parenting with Influence, the title is Shifting Your Parenting Style as You and Your Child Grow. So as they develop the capacity for logic, certainly you would want them to train them in using logic. How if this is true, then it means this. And if this is true, then it means, the next step. Or you can take it 3 or 4 steps down the line. But a toddler cannot use logic. They do not have the capacity, the neurologic connections for logic. So that's why in the early stages, you use lots more control, lots more rules, because that's all they can really understand is a rule. What's out of bounds? What is okay? So you must focus on rules pretty heavily in those first years. Every child develops differently, but certainly in those toddler years, none of them can use logic. As time goes on, you can see that your child can begin to make connections, and then you train them to use that understanding of how one thing affects the next decision and that decision affects the next one. And they can begin to string decisions together, and we call that logic. If this is true and this is true, then combining those two truths leads us to a third truth. The error that we make is trying to explain everything in a logical fashion to a child that can only understand the rule. There are signs that your child can use logic. So you may even use 2 glasses. One is fat, much larger around, and one is skinnier, but they are the same height. And you pour them the same amount of water to where the level is the same. And you can ask them which has more water in it, or, are they the same? Or are they different? One sign of logic is they can look at the size of the inside of the glass, and then they can begin to see, oh, there's the height, but there's also the fatness. They can take in multiple aspects of a decision. So there are other clues, something like that. They can help give you the signals that they are beginning to add information together in a logical fashion that gives them good decision making. Early on, they just need to know what the rule is, and you train them in those things. But as soon as they can understand more and participate in the decision making, with logical deduction or value systems, then you do more and more of the explaining of why. Logic develops with age. This is Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now. Subscribe to Parenting Matters Now for more advice, or go to rogersmithmd.com to search for more topics. See you next time.